Ladies and gentlemen, this is Maestro Paul Geraci at the Arnold 2019 Fencing Classic. We're about to witness the final bout for the under 16 women's foil competition between Yemili Aristud on the left from Puerto Rico and the Fencing Club, and Jessica Salinas on the right from Grand Rapids and the Grand Rapids Fencing Academy. Our fencing official calls the fencers on guard, and we are about to begin this gold medal bout. Mr. Aristud comes forward with an attack. It's parried. Riposte lands for Salinas. Salinas up 1-0. Salinas on the advance. Aristud pushes her off with a lunge. And a beat attack from Aristud, but it looks like it lands off target. Nothing is done. Fencers take up on guard. Salinas stalking forward. And it looks like the blade gets hung up in the middle of Aristud's attack. And Salinas is able to gain control of it, and the riposte lands off target, so no score. And the beat attack, she starts to celebrate a little early, but it landed flat, no touch, and the remise, or continuing action from Aristud, lands off target. Both fencers, a lot of beats on the blade. And there's the attack from Yemili Aristud, which finds the mark. There's a little bit of a delayed action in her lunge. And a long lunge this time, still aiming for that low flank area, right below the arm. Lands off target, though. And Salinas makes an attack. The first one is parried. She tries the second one, but the right of way had passed to Yemili Aristud, who made the attack, made the riposte and scored. So we are 2-1 in this first period with 1 minute expired. Yemili Aristud coming forward, keeping the blade out of range, a long lunge, and a reprise of the attack lands off target. Salinas taking some chances there, some longer reach attacks, and there's a longer beat attack. But it looks like it lands to the legs. Off target, nothing done. Salinas with the riposte, but it lands off target again. She needs to find that target. Of course, in foil, you can only hit in the lame, or the vest area. Several attacks, and a counter riposte. Finally finds the target for Salinas, 2-2. It took her several tries. Yemili Aristud's defense is very strong. And a couple long attacks parry, but Salinas can't make the riposte, so we start again. Salinas coming forward. And this time an attack by Yemili's, it actually goes past the target, but she's able to get back in time and create a redoublement and score. And the attack from Aristud is no, and a counterattack from Salinas is off target. And the fencing official will start them again. Aristud on the march, keeping the blade out of range, daring the counterattack. And pushing through is Salinas, finds the blade, and rides it all the way to the target for an equalizer touch, 3-3. Both fencers engage. Aristud on the march. On the final touch there going for Yemili Aristud, who celebrates. But it's still anyone's game, 4-3. Salinas coming forward, several beats. And the final beat, it looks to be a counter riposte, and it is counter riposte for Jessica Salinas, 4-4. We're all tied up in this gold medal match. And that long lunge from Aristud is just a little off the mark. She makes this long lunge low to that flank region. There it is again, but it's parried. Riposte is no. Several engagements, and it looks like a counterattack there at the end, getting out of the way. Salinas kind of twists her body, making Aristud miss, scores the touch, 5-4. 16 seconds left in the opening period. Aristud is stalking forward, now backing off. I think both fencers realize the time is going to expire and they don't want to do anything foolish, and they just rather regroup at the minute break. And both fencers are inclined to do just that. Though it looks like Yemili Aristud wants to change her weapon, and so the referee will perform one of the tests. So to make the weapon legal, it has to support a weight, make sure that the tip is not too light. And in this case, the weapon is deemed to be legal. They will test the weapons. They both work. And we're about to start the second period. The score is 4-5. Salinas over Aristud by 1 point. Going into the second period, this is the gold medal match in the under-16 women's foil event at the Arnold Fencing Classic 2019. And both fencers come to en garde and fence. Salinas coming forward. Long lunge. And there's a riposte. And the riposte is for Salinas, 6-4. And look how Aristud likes to sit down in that stance and lean forward. She's always on the attack. And there is that attack again with that large lunge. Lands off target, though. She needs to find that mark. That time she lunges with a disengage, but it's parried. She resets and lunges again, but it's off target. Jessica Salinas staying just out of range. Several beats on the blade. Attempt to gain control. Aristud is still trying to find a chink in the armor. And there's the long lunge, but it's parried. Riposte from Salinas makes it 7-4. And I wonder if Yemili Aristud is getting a little desperate. That lunge seems really deep. And here they go. Salinas is marching her back. And this time it looks like Aristud wants to play some defense, maybe. Or maybe Salinas wants to goad her into doing that long lunge again. Let's see who has the patience and the strategy. And there's the long lunge. It's short, and then the riposte from Salinas is off target. And it looks like a counterattack. The attack from Aristud is no, and Salinas scores a counterattack, and it's 8-4. Aristud has to figure a way out of this. It looks like she needs to tie her shoe, which is actually, I think it's the hair. The hair actually cannot cover the lame. That's a penalty, so you have to make sure your hair conforms to the rules. Otherwise, it would not be fair if it covered the target area. But in this case, it's actually a benefit to Aristud because she can actually take a second to compose herself and think about what she needs to do. And both fencers take up on guard again. And here we are. Aristud coming out on the attack again. Attack, parry, riposte. Jumps back to guard. Both fencers looking to score. And in the preparation, Aristud comes out with a lunge, but it's off target. She had the tempo there, and the referee backs them off a little bit before he starts the action again. And now they're off. Salinas stalking forward, but being very careful. Parry, riposte, she misses. Looks like she doesn't want to commit too deep. And there's the parry riposte. That's the one she was looking for, really trying to bait Aristud into coming forward. She takes the blade and scores her 9th touch. 9-4. Jessica Salinas in a commanding lead in this under-16 women's foil event. And a long priest affair is no. And Salinas hits with a lunge 10-4. And I can hear Aristud's coach Zayas shouting instructions in Spanish. And this time it looks like a counter-riposte for Aristud, who scores her 5th touch. And that was important. It really broke some rhythm. She needed a touch there. But still, a 5-touch lead for Salinas. And the replacement from Aristud is off target. It's amazing here. Salinas seems to be the taller fencer, but it looks like Aristud actually has a longer lunge. So we have to really see who has the reach here. But Salinas is being very cagey with her distance. And there's the parry riposte from Salinas, but it lands off target. Both fencers with very good defense. And now the fencing has gotten... And it is a riposte for Salinas. Salinas scores 11-5. It's interesting to see what happens when fencing becomes a little stagnant like that and they both stop. Something's going to happen then. Usually both fencers are in motion. But especially when you get to the very end of the strip, it's hard to stay in motion. And both ripostes from Salinas miss. Aristud gets out of a bind there. And Aristud comes forward, but the referee's not sure. There was an extra blade contact, and I'm not sure myself. So he's going to check the video replay and see if he can determine who had the control of the blade in that final action.
That men's foil direct elimination tableau has been posted. Please report to your strips back in the Franklin room.
6-11. So Yemili Aristud, 6-11. And it looks like the time has expired in the second period, so both fencers will get an opportunity to talk to their coaches, get a drink of water, come up with a strategy for this upcoming third and final period. The score is 6-11. Or does the instinct take over? And it looks like Aristud's instinct is to use that long lunge in the low line. But Salinas has been picking her off on it, so let's see. Salinas finds the blade, and an indirect riposte from Salinas scores. She was anticipating that secondary parry. Salinas stalking forward. The big lunge from Aristud lands flat, and Salinas scores, but she scores off target, so no touch awarded. And there's the long lunge again by Aristud, but it's off target. She really wants the score under the arm, but Salinas is ready for it. And there's a 1-2 attack from Salinas. It's a little wide, though, and it lands off target. And a delayed riposte from Salinas off target. She wanted to delay that riposte to get around the parry. And this time we're at Salinas' end of the strip. Let's see what happens. Salinas makes a parry riposte. And it's taken over again by Aristud, who lunges and hits off target. Nothing done. That's her start again. We are at Salinas' end of the strip. Attack, parry, riposte, and it's Salinas scoring the touch. 13 fencing 6. We still haven't seen that beat disengage. It looked like Coach Zayas was asking her to do. But there's a very quick beat riposte. 7 fencing 13. And it looked like a prise de fer or taking of the blade. And Salinas scores her 14th touch. One more touch and she will win the gold medal. And it looks like a hair clip has fallen onto the strip and the referee has removed it. And perhaps this gives both fencers an opportunity to think about this important next touch. And there's a long lunge. It's parried, no riposte. There's the beat attack, nothing. Both fencers jockeying for position in the middle. Several beats. Lunge, parry, no riposte, no riposte. And the final attack is no counterattack touche. And Jessica Salinas is the 2019 Arnold Fencing Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Salinas!